been around for a while, and there's a lot of kind of internet rumors about you. And I thought maybe we could squash some of those rumors tonight. Really? If you don't mind.
That's some bull. I mean, that's a little less patient with people that I don't feel I have to be patient with. So I speak my mind a lot more than I used to, because I used to think I'd get fired. Now I know I'm not.
Saying that, I've done what I set out to do, which was be a great entertainer, get people to come to the movies, have a good time.
Samuel L. Jackson, one of the most recognizable faces in Hollywood and an undeniable acting legend. But why does he also have so many haters in the industry?
When you're on set, have I changed? I'm constantly evolving.
In what ways?
Well, I've grown as an actor. I'm getting older. I'm a little less patient with.
Is it his outspoken nature that ruffles feathers?
Hey, I didn't even know that.
His clashes with directors? Or maybe it's his refusal to play by Hollywood's unwritten rules?
A little less patient with people that I don't feel I have to be patient with. So I speak my mind a lot more than I used to, because I used to think I'd get fired. Now I know I'm not.
Why is Samuel L. Jackson, despite being a box office juggernaut, also one of the most polarizing figures in Hollywood? Let's uncover the truth about why this beloved actor is also the most hated. Samuel L. Jackson's outspoken nature is both a blessing and a curse. On one hand, his willingness to address racism, inequality, and lack of diversity in Hollywood has made him a hero to many.
One thing for sure, when you hire me, you're getting a black actor. And if you wrote it and you didn't see a black actor when you wrote it, or even if you saw one, sometimes what you put in my mouth is not how I talk. Depending upon what I've read, you created a character who's a lot more educated than you allow him to speak.
But on the other hand, his bluntness has alienated some of the biggest players in the industry. Take his comments on race in Hollywood. Jackson once called out the entertainment industry for its selective inclusion practices, stating, "They love to act like diversity is improving, but the same gatekeepers are still in charge." While many appreciated his honesty, others behind the scenes weren't thrilled to have their practices so openly criticized. And then there's Jackson's bold political stance. He's made headlines for calling out controversial politicians and societal issues, often using unfiltered language. While this earned him a strong fan base, it also attracted backlash from more conservative figures in Hollywood who preferred a neutral stance. Could his tendency to speak his mind have made him a target for industry insiders? Let's delve into his feuds, fiery interviews, and the battles he's had to fight just to stay relevant.
That's a all the time.
There we go.
It's like there's varying degrees.
Varying degrees.
Yeah. That's like, hey, what's up?
Different levels.
All of it, we make it work.
Samuel L. Jackson has never shied away from conflict. His public disagreements with high-profile names like Bruce Willis and Quentin Tarantino are legendary. For example, during the filming of Die Hard with a Vengeance, tensions between Jackson and Willis reportedly escalated over creative differences, with insiders claiming Jackson was unafraid to challenge Willis's star power.
You are about to have a very bad day.
Tell me about it.
His relationship with Quentin Tarantino is similarly complicated. While they've created iconic films together, Jackson has openly disagreed with Tarantino's use of racial slurs in scripts. Despite their creative synergy, Jackson's willingness to call out his collaborators has rubbed some the wrong way. And then we have his perceived feud with Steve Harvey. You see, Samuel Jackson might have hinted at Steve Harvey's alleged desire to bring down Katt Williams. These two comedy legends have been going at it for a while, especially after Katt's now infamous Club Shay Shay interview with Shannon Sharpe. If you've been keeping score of their insults and jabs, fans are saying Katt's in the lead. But don't count Steve out just yet. He's hit back with some pretty sharp comebacks of his own.
Anti-ass hater and you'll never have a hater that's doing better than you. Don't get off the wall to dress some pity any ass boy who ain't got shit going for himself.
But here's the thing. Most people think this beef started with that Club Shay Shay interview. According to Samuel L. Jackson, though, it actually goes way back, and things really started heating up at the 2017 Def Comedy Jam reunion. Jackson spilled that the tension first became obvious during a moment when Dave Chappelle was giving props to Katt Williams on stage.
It's good to see so many funny people together in one room, all wondering the same thing. Is Katt Williams gonna show up?
Everyone laughed, Katt included, but Steve Harvey, not so much. He looked uncomfortable, like he didn't want the spotlight on Katt for even a second. Steve then tried to shift the attention back to himself by saying, "Ish, I'm nervous as hell right now." But Dave wasn't having it. He kept talking about Katt, shining the light on his fellow comedian. Clearly frustrated, Steve jumped in again, saying, "But let me ask you this. When have you ever seen this many heavy hitters all together at the same time in the same room?" Once again trying to divert the attention. Now, maybe fans didn't pick up on Steve's little move, but people in the industry sure did. A lot of insiders, including Samuel L. Jackson, were pretty disappointed. They felt like Katt deserved that moment. Even though he wasn't on stage, his contributions to comedy should have been recognized, and for Steve to interrupt like that? It came across as a low blow. Some argued Steve could have at least acknowledged Katt's legacy before shifting the focus. But nope, Steve had to jump in and steal the spotlight from his longtime rival. And what made it worse was that he didn't even do it smoothly. His attempt was clumsy and made it seem like he was jealous of the attention Katt was getting. It wasn't just Steve either. Fans noticed Cedric the Entertainer, another comedy legend, subtly trying to move the spotlight too. Cedric was nervously laughing during Chappelle's speech, almost like he wanted it to end. Then, when Steve chimed in again, Cedric backed him up saying, "Yeah," as if to say, "Okay, enough about Katt, let's move on."
Well, let me ask you this. When have you ever seen this many heavy hitters all together at the same time, in the same room?
Now, Cedric's approach was a lot more low-key compared to Steve's, so most people probably didn't even notice it. But again, industry insiders were reportedly not happy. They thought Cedric could have at least pretended to be happy for Katt in that moment, instead of co-signing Steve's attempt to shift the spotlight. And this was in 2017, years before Katt openly called out both Steve and Cedric on Club Shay Shay.
Then you asked it, why you not a movie star? I didn't want to be a movie star. This the same Negro that hated on Bernie with this same thing. I didn't want to be a movie star. No, you couldn't be a movie star.
So why would Steve Harvey and Cedric the Entertainer act this way toward Katt? According to Samuel L. Jackson, it's because both of them were terrified of him, but not in a physical sense. They weren't scared Katt would beat them up or anything like that. No, they were terrified that Katt would steal the spotlight from them. If you rewatch that moment from Def Comedy Jam, you'll see it clearly. Steve's first attempt at grabbing the spotlight had him saying, "I'm terrified." It was like he knew Katt had the potential to outshine him, and he couldn't handle it.
Def Comedy Jam 25. It's good to see so many funny people together in one room, all wondering the same thing. Is Katt Williams gonna show up?
I'm nervous as hell right now.
Word on the street is that Steve Harvey isn't just playing coy when it comes to Katt Williams. He's downright scared of him. Samuel L. Jackson allegedly spilled the tea, claiming that Harvey and Cedric the Entertainer are both running scared because, well, Katt is simply a better comedian. Katt himself didn't hold back either. During his sit-down with Shannon Sharpe, Katt threw some serious shade, calling out both Steve and Cedric. He even dropped a bombshell about a showdown that happened years ago between him and Steve Harvey. And spoiler alert, Katt came out on top. This so-called comedy battle went down in 2008 at the Championship of Comedy. Although the event wasn't promoted as a face-off, Katt decided he had enough of Steve's antics and made it one. He absolutely roasted Steve on stage, cracking jokes about Steve being bald and rocking a man's wig. And let's be real, at that time, most folks had no idea Steve was secretly rocking a high-top fade on national TV. People were obsessed with his hair. Men everywhere were jealous of his perfectly lined up hairline, while their own hairlines were retreating quicker than they could book a barber's appointment. Steve's high-top fade was his signature look, the crown jewel of his TV persona. Heads turned when he walked into a room, with that fade shining in all its glory. So when Katt Williams came for his hair, it hit deep. That wasn't just a regular roast. Katt was coming for Steve's self-esteem, his confidence, his pride. And whether Steve admitted it or not, Katt's words had an impact. The proof? After that night, Steve eventually ditched the wig and opted for the bald look. Yup, Katt had exposed him, and Steve had to own it. Fast forward to today, and Steve Harvey's bald head has become part of his iconic look. It pairs perfectly with that crisp mustache. But back then, he was hiding behind that wig. And according to Katt, the humiliation from that roast was enough to make Steve hang up his stand-up shoes for good.
There are 30,000 new scripts in Hollywood every year. Not one of them asks for a country bumpkin black dude that can't talk good over KB and look like Mr. Potato Head. There ain't none.
If that's true, no wonder Steve would feel rattled whenever Katt's name is mentioned. It's not every day you bump into the person who supposedly ended your stand-up career. Anyway, when he is not allegedly stirring up beef, Jackson's larger-than-life personality has led to accusations of arrogance. You see, Samuel L. Jackson has a personality that's impossible to ignore, and some people think he might take it a little too far. Whether it's the way he commands every room he enters or his unapologetically blunt attitude on set, plenty of folks have whispered that Jackson comes off as, well, a bit full of himself. But is he actually arrogant or just a little misunderstood?
I have had it with these snakes on this plane.
One of the biggest complaints people throw his way is that he's everywhere. Seriously, blink and you'll catch him in another blockbuster, indie flick, or even a commercial. Critics claim that all this exposure waters down his performances, like he's more focused on stacking paychecks than delivering memorable moments. Some even go so far as to call him Hollywood's busiest overachiever. But Jackson's fans have a totally different take. To them, this nonstop work hustle is part of his charm. Sure, he might not turn down a role too often, but isn't that exactly why he stayed on top for decades? He's not chasing clout. He's chasing what excites him, whether it's being Nick Fury in the Marvel Universe or taking on a quirky cameo in something totally unexpected. And let's not forget, Jackson isn't shy about knowing his worth. He's said before that he takes the opportunities he's given and doesn't let anyone's opinion slow him down. If that rubs people the wrong way, so be it. At the end of the day, maybe what some people see as arrogance is just a man who owns his space and refuses to dim his shine for anyone. Moving on, Samuel L. Jackson's work ethic and intensity can also be intimidating. He's known for holding directors accountable and isn't afraid to challenge their vision if he feels the project is lacking. For instance, we have his public feud with Quentin Tarantino. The first signs of trouble appeared in 2023 when Samuel L. Jackson openly criticized Quentin Tarantino's film Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
So, did I say something funny, stuntman?
Yeah, you kind of did.
What's so funny?
Look, man, I don't want any trouble. I'm just here to do a job.
During an interview with Vulture, Jackson didn't hold back, expressing his disappointment with the film's lack of diversity. Despite having been a frequent collaborator with Tarantino, appearing in classics like Pulp Fiction, Jackie Brown, and Django Unchained, Jackson was noticeably absent from this particular film, and he wasn't shy about calling out the movie for its glaring omission of black actors. Jackson compared his experience watching Once Upon a Time in Hollywood to another iconic film, Goodfellas. He pointed out how few black faces there were in both movies, saying, "But when I saw Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I mean, how many black people are in that movie? Maybe 3? It was kind of like watching Goodfellas. When I was in Goodfellas, it's like me and somebody else." Jackson's critique didn't go unnoticed. When asked if he had discussed the issue with Tarantino, Jackson revealed that he hadn't. The only time he saw Tarantino after the movie's release was at his Oscar ceremony, and discussing the film wasn't on the agenda. Their long-standing partnership, which began in 1994 with Pulp Fiction, seemed to be showing signs of strain. Their collaboration has produced some of the most memorable films of the last few decades, but now some are wondering if that chapter is coming to an end. Further fueling the rumors of a rift between Jackson and Hollywood elites is Quentin Tarantino's well-documented disdain for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Tarantino sparked controversy when he claimed that movie stars no longer exist, arguing that it's the characters, not the actors, who draw audiences to theaters. He specifically targeted Marvel, mentioning Captain America and Thor as examples, suggesting that Chris Evans and Chris Hemsworth are not the stars. The characters they play are.
Marvel movies and DC movies are movies.
Right.
And there's been actually almost no competition to show him that there can be anything else.
But Samuel L. Jackson, who has played Nick Fury in the MCU for over a decade, wasn't having it. He fired back, using the late Chadwick Boseman as an example of an undeniable movie star. Chadwick Boseman is Black Panther. You can't refute that, and he's a movie star, Jackson said. He emphasized that it takes a skilled actor to bring these characters to life, and to him, the idea that movie stars are a thing of the past is absurd.
Samuel L. Jackson has absolutely blasted Quentin Tarantino for his recent Marvel comments. Quentin Tarantino said that Marvel actors aren't famous and that their character is famous.
Another director that Jackson had issues with in the past was Spike Lee. In an interview with Vulture, Jackson revealed that money was a major factor in their past disagreements, particularly during the casting of Lee's iconic film Malcolm X. Jackson explained that he had been heavily involved in the audition process, even reading lines with many actors trying out for the movie. Despite that, when it came to his own potential role, he turned it down. The reason? The pay didn't sit right with him. It was still down to that Spike Lee scale plus 10 salary thing, Jackson said, referring to a Screen Actors Guild system where 10% of an actor's paycheck automatically goes to their agent. Jackson wasn't happy with the idea of working for what he felt was too little, saying, "I'm not going to work for no scale plus 10. Instead of taking a role in Malcolm X, Jackson chose to star in the 1992 crime thriller White Sands.
Artie O'Brien, a.k.a. Spencer.
He's dead.
See? No way you'd know that from looking at this photo.
This decision caused tension between him and Lee, leading to a falling out. The strained relationship was especially notable because the two had previously worked together on some of Lee's biggest hits, including Do the Right Thing, Jungle Fever, and School Days. But there was more to the story of how Jackson landed White Sands. Reflecting on the experience, Jackson shared a funny and surprising moment in his career. Back in 1991, he had a habit of calling his agent daily, asking if there was any news about auditions or callbacks. My line to her every day was, "Hollywood call?" he said. For the longest time, the answer was always no. Then one day, his agent finally had good news. She said, "Actually, yeah, they did. You just won an award at the Cannes Film Festival," Jackson recalled, completely caught off guard. And I'm like, what? For what? The award was the first ever Best Supporting Performance Award at Cannes, which he earned for his role as Gator, a crack-addicted character in Jungle Fever. At first, Jackson didn't even believe it, jokingly telling his team, "Get the F out of here!" That Cannes win helped open new doors for Jackson. The team behind White Sands noticed his talent and offered him the role of FBI Special Agent Greg Meeker. While it was a great opportunity for Jackson, it also deepened the rift with Spike Lee, since taking White Sands meant passing on Malcolm X. Despite their fallout, Jackson has always acknowledged the pivotal role Lee's films played in his career. He credits his performance as Gator in Jungle Fever as the role that got him noticed in Hollywood. "That movie got me into Hollywood," he said, reflecting on its importance. Eventually, Jackson and Lee repaired their relationship. The turning point came in 2013 when Lee was working on his American remake of Old Boy, a South Korean film both men were passionate about. The project gave them a chance to collaborate again, and Jackson described the reunion as seamless. "It was just like we'd never stopped," Jackson said in an interview with Playboy magazine that same year. "He's very efficient, knows what he wants, and doesn't get in my way artistically. Whatever I come with, and it's cool." Their ability to reconnect after years of tension speaks to the mutual respect between Jackson and Lee. Though their careers have taken them on different paths at times, their collaborations remain a key part of both of their legacies. In any case, Samuel L. Jackson is no stranger to controversy, especially when it comes to his language. His unfiltered use of profanity in films has become one of his trademarks. And while many fans love his bold, unapologetic style, others see it differently. Critics often argue that he leans too much on colorful language, claiming it can overshadow his ability to convey emotion in more nuanced ways. This debate has followed him for years, with some praising his delivery and others labeling it excessive or even harmful. Another big point of contention is the type of roles Jackson often takes on. Over the years, he's been cast in a lot of roles that portray the angry black man stereotype. Filmmaker Spike Lee even referred to him as the go-to guy for those characters.
Hey, I didn't even know that.
While these roles have helped cement Jackson's reputation as a commanding on-screen presence, they've also sparked important conversations about how Hollywood represents black men. Some see Jackson as breaking barriers, while others worry that these portrayals reinforce negative stereotypes. Then there's Jackson's choice to appear in numerous blockbuster franchises, which has drawn mixed reactions. He's been in some of the biggest movie series of all time, like Star Wars and the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where he's known as Nick Fury. While these roles have kept him relevant and made him one of the highest-grossing actors in Hollywood, some critics argue that he's focused too much on financial success. They feel he's chosen big-budget blockbusters over smaller, more artistic films that might showcase a different side of his talent. In any case, Jackson's bad boy image, crafted through his roles and his fiery personality, has added to his polarizing reputation. Some see it as authentic, while others find it intimidating. Does Hollywood fear Samuel L. Jackson because he refuses to play the nice guy, on or off the screen? Despite the controversies, Samuel L. Jackson remains one of the most respected actors in Hollywood. His unparalleled talent, relentless work ethic, and ability to adapt have made him a household name. But with such an unapologetic approach to his career and life, it's no wonder he's ruffled a few feathers along the way. Anyway, that's it for this video, folks. Bye.